Hey guys, First Regardsman here, and today I'm back with Mr. E to talk about a potential Plague Marine or Death Guard in Darktide. What is up, man? How do you feel about having an Astartes actually added to this game?
Well, first of all, we can't keep meeting like this. This is getting all too familiar. But yeah, I mean, all the more the merrier. I think that one of the sore points for a lot of players, you know, being a Darktide native myself, is that we just don't have enough enemies. We had no new enemies in like a very long time. And
That's a good point.
dude, something like that would be pretty legendary. It would be a very big deal.
I feel like Death Guard in Darktide would be like one of the biggest updates you could possibly have for the game in general. Because the big thing about Astartes for 40k is just that they are the most popular property, heretic or otherwise. And Darktide does not have a ton of super notable figures in it. I think the most popular characters are probably like, the Adeptus Mechanicus on the actual Morningstar, the Arbides, the Psyker, of course, and Ogren. I mean, Veteran Guardsmen, probably the most important ones, like as
Yeah.
far as just like generalized lore goes. But Astartes, they are the poster boys of 40k. A game without them is just like, it's going to do worse than one that actually has any implementation whatsoever.
I mean, just think of the thumbnail potential, right? Just being able to say, like, "Oh my God, there's actually a Plague Marine
Oh, you
in
would see it from
Darktide."
channels that don't even play
Would be
Darktide.
insane. Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is the draw power, the pure draw of it would be amazing. And also, like, I mean, the rejects potentially could handle it. Like, they're not invincible, although, like, depending on the lore and where you're pulling from, like, Games Workshop is liable to make them either feel invincible or feel very whatever, I guess, invincible. Like, I mean,
Now
Ogrins have
there is
soloed
a
before.
story
So
of an Ogren solo bodying two
doesn't he like
Chaos
suplex them?
Terminator. He like suplexes a Chaos Terminator.
Which
Now
is even higher than this.
these were unfortunately word bearers that are like total bums. I'm just kidding. Word bearers aren't bums, but their Primarch's just kind of lame. The point is
Yeah.
that the Terminators for Chaos being bodied by a single Ogre, it's not exactly like a regular thing that happens in 40k. But the point is that
We
like,
can't count. We can count that in their victory column though. Like, yeah, like
yeah,
you
it's a great
can,
feat.
like,
It's a great feat.
right, yeah, there you go. It's a feat to scale off of. Like, it might be a little bit of an outlier, but I think the point is well made. Is like, okay, yeah, if you can, like, if that can exist within the lore, then like 4 rejects could potentially, with given like the right circumstances, like stand against Plague Marine or something like adjacent, right?
Oh, definitely. I would say that, I mean, a full reject squad, it depends on how they set up the mission, of course, because
Yeah,
Plague Marines are incredibly durable. They're like some of the hardest Marines to fight in 40k period. They have regenerative powers because, of course, they're blessed by Nurgle. They
of
are
course.
just super difficult to deal with. But I feel like they could definitely set up a mission in a way that there's some implementation of giving us an option on mission to at least like wound a Space Marine or like maybe make the Plague Marine weaker in that way. Now,
Yeah.
Astartes are naturally going to be like the focal point of like the Eye of Sauron or the Eye of Games Workshop in this case, because Games
Yeah.
Workshop will not implement an Astartes in any way, shape, or form without like their direct supervision. Like I said before, they are the poster boys of 40k. If you add in a Death Guard, Games Workshop is going to be on their ass to make sure these guys are properly represented and have the proper power scaling, or at least whatever they consider to be the proper power scaling, like that one moment. But the point is, it's really hard to like properly have these guys put in the game with their full power
Yeah.
level and fully give us a gameplay experience that is like fun to fight against. Because a big issue would be that Death Guard might just be too damn strong the way Games Workshop wants them to like actually be fun to fight for us as players. So I'm curious how you
I
think they would
think
actually tackle that.
y- yeah, so I was gonna say, like, based on what you're saying, it has always seemed unlikely to me that they'd be added as, like, enemies that you would encounter casually in the mission. Like, a lot of players or people have been wanting extra bosses, like more bosses added, like, but they would not add them in place of like something like a chaos spawn or a plague ogre. Like, those enemies are chumps. And even like the Karnak twins that can ambush you in Havoc, and there's like a event mission to take them down. I think it's much more likely that they would do something like that, where it was a special mission, and then therefore they can, like, have like sort of a lore set up that, like, oh yeah, perhaps you might wound the Death Guard, and and that's it. Like, they could pull the punch there,
Yeah, I think
or
it'd be like
like
a set
you'd realize
piece. I
it's
think like
a
a
yeah,
set
it's a
piece makes
set
a lot
piece,
more
right?
sense than like an actual boss. Like on a mission
I,
boss, there's no way. They're way too strong for
right.
that. Like if
Oh
you
no,
ever
it
like had a
definitely couldn't be most
comparable I mean give an example, like one Chaos Spawn just get like shit on by an Astartes. Like properly I mean they're
right.
kind of
Like
shit on by an Ogre at this point in the game anyways, but the point is like you can't really have you can't have them as like an on mission boss. It just doesn't make any sense.
no, it's just it needs to be, and also like obviously they would want to like attention farm it as much as possible. Like it needs to be the like the centerpiece, like the focal point of like a new mission. And like we are kind of trending in that direction, like with the storyline as it has been evolving, albeit slowly as fuck over the last like year or so with Darktide. Like there are more powerful like Nurgle forces being summoned in. I've seen like speculation about like great unclean ones and stuff, and like the more uh like another sort of like equivalent power or pseudo equivalent power would be Death Guard. That could be another like direction they might take as the Nurgle infestation on Tertium just gets like worse and worse. And yeah, they would just definitely just do a event style mission just like we had with the Karnak twins, where like yeah, at the end it's just ruled that oh like one of them survived and there you go. So you don't have to like, it can just be like The Rock and Vin Diesel, where when they appear in the Fast and
That's a
Furious, like
great
both
point.
of them have in their contract that they can't lose the fight, so they always tie in the fight. Like they could just do something like that and just
That's
like,
true. I never really
you
like
know,
noticed that the Karnak twins are kind of like very gamified, where they just like poof away,
mm,
vanish, and then I guess they could do
yeah,
something like that with
in the yeah,
the
that's
Death
right.
Guard.
In the lead up to the actual Karnak like assassination mission, there was like a whole event where they would ambush you in your missions, and when you got them low, they would vanish. And so I could see like, yeah, I mean, Death Guard and like Space Marines are fast as fuck. Like one could just like come charging in through a wall, and then I don't know how it would like vanish from the arena, but
Now,
you just
in
like
the
pull
game
out of there.
Rogue Trader, on the note of like fighting a Space Marine, you do fight Word Bearers in there. Now, Word Bearers are obviously different from Death Guard, but you kind of just mow them down endlessly. But I feel like in the case of having a Darktide edition of a Space Marine, Games Workshop just like way more on their ass, and the reason for that is because the Darktide is like a horde shooter. It's way more like in your face, because like in a CRPG, you're just not like as connected. At least most players are not as connected to their
Yeah,
character and like what's going on in the actual game and power scaling as you would be in like a third person or first person shooter, which is why Games Workshop is like, we don't want to watch the Death Guard die in 4K like 2 feet in front of your face in a pathetic
yeah, they
manner.
don't want to see a Death Guard get like poked to death by four dueling swords. It should just be how
That
it's
would be,
gonna go
that's how it would
down,
go,
right?
yeah.
Just four toothpicks turning this guy into a living shish kebab. It would be pretty damn embarrassing. But yeah, like I've always thought that like they could do some very cool stuff. They've proven with, and we'll see soon enough, there's supposed to be another sort of what they're calling operation mission, very much like there's a train mission. It's like a short sort of strike style mission, and they could do something like that that is very lore heavy, that features a Death Guard. And one of my favorite video game like pseudo like it's like a fight slash cinematic is from Wrath of the Lich King for World of Warcraft in the Halls of Reflection. 07 in the chat, if you remember the Wrath days. This featured the Lich King, who's like omega OP. Like he just like can solo entire raid parties. He just shows up and slow walks at you. His RP walks at you menacingly and is just like summoning uh, hordes of undead to block your path, and you just have to fight through them to escape him. And I could very much see something like that going on, where it's like, oh shit, there's a fucking death guy. Like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Rejects make it to the drop ship, and you had to fight through like hordes and hordes while this thing is on your ass, just,
That would be a cool finale to a mission.
just walking at you menacingly as fuck. And you can hold him back, like you can damage him, but you can't actually like kill him. Yeah, like that would definitely be super cool, and it would allow them to maintain that power fantasy, like just to like keep them threatening in the universe.
Yeah, because like that's the big issue is you don't want like a Plague Marine to feel pathetic,
Yeah,
especially
you do not
since
want
we
them
would
to feel like
likely
chumps.
only have like one Plague Marine in this case, because it'd be pretty insane to get multiple. I mean, it was just much, way too much for reject.
It would, I think it would signify also like it has to be like a kind of a big deal. Like I imagine whatever Plague Marine it is has to have some sort of aim. Like it can't be that they're just like invading the planet. Like they're not just bringing plague marines because at that point
No,
the
Plague Marines
invasion
would
is
come for like a
too far
very.
gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like if they're showing up in numbers at all, like the invasion is too far gone. They just should just be
I mean,
like
even just showing up is a pretty
destroying the planet.
major, like a pretty
Yeah.
major story change. I'd be kind of curious to see if they would be willing to add new enemies on top of a mission like that, the Death Guard. Because we were talking about this earlier, that the enemies in Darktide right now are just not quite where they need to be in comparison to the players and the current loadouts we have. So I'm curious to see if you think that would be like a good addition, or like they could add in some
Well,
more Nurgle foes on top of that.
I mean, yeah, naturally, obviously, it would be a very, very good addition. I think that's probably the biggest weakness of the game right now. I was kind of dismayed to. I mean, I'm excited, obviously, but like I'm also dismayed that they are adding another character class before they're adding more real enemies because I
The
think we have
Plasma Gunner
enough
was not it.
characters. Plasma Gunner is certainly not it. It's something, but it's not at all like what
It's
players
just
probably
I feel like it's
wanted.
just too similar to what we have already. Like,
It
it fits
is. I
it fits
mean,
the current
it is literally the
archetypes.
shotgunner,
Yeah.
but like it's just a long range shotgunner. But the thing about Darktide currently is that I think that a lot of enemies were designed very very simplistically in an early era of the game when there was also simplistic design from the character standpoint. And like it's okay to have enemies with really simple like normal AI, but players are so advanced and so skilled at the game, and we have so much power that like look at how complex like Rinda and Roden Karnak, the twins are. It's like they have like anime ninja moves and
Yeah,
can
they are
like
Darktide
lob
2.0
mines. Like
bosses.
yeah, like those enemies feel complicated and it feels like challenging to fight them. And I feel that they could scale up the threats like that and add in new enemies that have fun tricks to pull. I think a great similarity to point out, or like a sort of progression to point out, is to Vermintide 2, where it launched with Skaven and man, it's been so long. It's not called a
Skaven
Nurgle.
and
It's
Chaos. Skaven and Chaos.
Chaos. Yeah,
Yeah, the
whatever, I
forces of like
forget.
Norska.
Yeah, Norska. Yeah. So Norska is up there, and like they're threatening, but they have just like normal ass moves, right? Like all their normal dudes. But then beastmen were introduced, and pretty much every beastman in their entire army has some sort of special move. There's a banner holder,
Yeah,
like
they
a standard bearer
definitely,
who
they
can put
definitely
down a
shit on
banner.
people when they came out.
That
That
would
is for
be
sure.
fucking horrible in this game. Please don't do that, Fat Shark. No more healing, please. But also the charging of the there's a elite that can charge you, and like that throws you off of your game and can like push you out of position. They have long like ranged attackers, which in Vermintide was the first range attacker to come to the game, non-special. And so like those sort of iterations, just adding extra complexity would really add to just like the overall gameplay puzzle, because that's what the game is. It's like it's a combat puzzle, right? That's the enjoyable part of Darktide, is like, okay, the director throws this shit situation at you, you need to use your skills and your resources to handle it, and when you do it right, it feels amazing. And so yeah, they need to make those puzzles a little bit more complex, and definitely there's a lot of really cool stuff. If not Death Guard, like when you look at the Death Guard codex, that is where all of the enemies in the game come from, right? Like that's where Darktide's enemies are pulled from, stat blocks wise. And
Yeah.
Fat is very faithful at pulling the stats. Like they actually are like, scaling these enemies appropriately based on their tabletop representations. So they're in those books, they're in those codices, looking at them, and they got to be they're leafing past the page that says Mortarion.
Now,
Like,
personally,
and
I've
going
always
to
wanted
there.
to see like more of the Nurgle representation in the game, because like
Mhm.
obviously we fight Nurgle all the time, but I think we fight the boring part of Nurgle, like Crushers, and not what I think of when I fight Nurgle. Like the Scab faction is kind of a cool idea, but I would still like to see like Plague Bearers and that kind of thing. 'Cause, like we
I
already have
think
Plague Oberons in the game, more demon representation. Death Guard would obviously
yes.
be exceptional. It's like a set piece. Just like as the general game goes on, having like a better idea, just like the general armies of Nurgle in 40k in represented in Darktide, I think this would be really good for like players and aesthetic of Darktide in general. So
It would definitely bring in another aspect that they could explore, because like currently as it stands, like if you think about the way that enemies were sort of arranged in Vermintide, we had like just very like materially strong enemies like the Rattling Gunner, but also you had casters like the Leech and the Blightstormer. So I would be very interested to see basically bringing like Nurgle magic in here in the form of more Nurgle focused champions, or more Nurgle blessed specials. And I definitely think that is I think there's like sort of three ways that people imagine the game could go. There's of course the Gene Stealer angle that people have been talking about since the dawn of time, and then there's adding in like something more militaristic, like the Plague Marines, or just even like uh, just more like armies that would be more affiliated with the Scabs, which are like the Mobian Sixth, or
Yeah.
the more militant branch, or which I think is probably more indicated by the way the lore has been going, is that they've got this cult of admonition who are literally like doing some sort of summoning ritual, and there's a bunch of green swirling energy around it, and there's a lot of speculation about what that could be. It must be coming to a head at some point. That's like the next thing to explore in the
Demon Horde
lore.
would be pretty cool.
Uh, yeah, so
Maybe
like
whether it
demons
was like a plague
of
bearer,
some
a great
sort.
and clean one, or something, but
Great Unclean
having
One, yeah,
having
it's
a
something
serious
yucky.
demonic presence on the planet would be very cool for what we have currently. Because like obviously the warp has fucked these guys up quite a bit. Tertium ain't in a good
Mhm.
spot. Nurgle plague not doing too well for the general populace. But having some kind of proper representation of like the famous Nurgle enemies, I think would help Darktide a lot. Like I think that's what Darktide is really missing, at least for me, is like the more famous aspects of these factions, because
Yeah.
40k really is like the WWE, where it's like, all right, this is the cool guy. He comes in, like this is the demolisher. He's coming to do his signature move and he demolishes you. And
Listen,
like
you want
that's what it's all about.
you,
Okay.
you want all your fans to be like that Leo meme where he's like
Yeah, I know what that is.
that
That's
right there.
exactly
I
what
know
it
that.
is. It's like,
Or the I
comic
guess it's the
books.
red letter media things we know.
Yeah, that's what it's about, though. It's about like,
It
right,
is.
pull out the guy, have him look right, and have him do a signature move, and like that's what this shit is all
Yeah,
about.
I definitely agree that like I feel like the Nurgle in general, like they are trying to do something with it because like Beast of Nurgle is in there. But like if you think about it, like there's really not most of the other enemies
Beast
are
of
literally
Nurgle is
just
also like the
dudes.
worst fucking boss in the entire game. It
That's
just sucks
Beast of Nurgle
ass.
horribly.
It's just
Yeah, I
such an
hate fighting
awful
it.
boss.
But it's a pretty cool like, looking boss, I
Yeah,
guess.
they're
And
they're
it is
better.
very
They're better in
it is
Total War.
very
They're better in Total.
yeah,
This
yeah, it
one can
definitely
go
would
suck
look
my
better
ass.
though.
Like, yeah, Beast of
But
Nurgle, I hate that boss. I'm sorry. I've had too many Havoc 40 like bad experiences with that boss to like ever enjoy it at all.
uh, okay,
Yeah,
well, I
it's a
mean,
cool aesthetic.
that
It's a cool aesthetic, I
aside,
guess. Yeah,
that
but
aside, it's a cool aesthetic, and like it is probably the only enemy that actually like represents like any sort of like Nurgle corruption, and I think we could use more of that because like I don't feel like I'm fighting against like anything supernatural at all, even though the enemy is like abjectly supernatural. Like it's able to create chaos spawns, and like that means that like that there is like a certain concentration of like warp that's must be going on to like create these things. There's demon hosts. There's literally demon hosts that we've been glossing over, but like that's about as explored as that's ever been, and that was all in the game like on launch. And yeah, it would be very I think it would be very cool to continue to explore those more Nurgle forces
yeah, I do
on like a
feel
smaller
like
scale. I don't think they need to
Darktide,
make them all bosses.
it's not quite like, I mean, it's 40k, but it doesn't feel as 40k in some ways. Like obviously the weapons are done really well, but I maybe it's because I've been playing in the Hive City so much. I'm like, okay, I'm a little
Mhm.
bored of Tertium, because you're not like just playing in the Hive City. You're playing like the shit district of the Hive City. Even the Throne Side is
The
like
shit strict,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, like even Throne Side, which is like the richer area, still feels like it's because you are, because Hive City's just
Yeah,
kind
you're
of suck in
losing.
40k, and when you do go outside, it's like just a barren wasteland. But I would like to see more.
Well, sand.
Yeah, it's just sand. It's just more sand. So like,
everywhere.
in Rogue Trader, you go to some planets or Hive cities, and like it's like super
Yeah, like
nice. There's nice
they
sunlight,
could
and
absolutely envision some because like I mean their environment design is beautiful, but like it's beautiful for a sewer, right? So
yeah, it's a
like
very good
they
looking
could
sewer.
I imagine whatever they add would be beautiful and well realized, but like I think they've really kind of maybe they had bigger plans like initially and they're just kind of working towards those. But I really what I was saying earlier and kind of got distracted by, went away from was that when I'm fighting enemies, I just feel like I'm fighting like dudes in armor, like 99% of
Yeah, it
the
doesn't
time.
feel like you're
And
fighting
then,
Nurgle.
and then there's a boss, but like everything else is just like dudes with guns and dudes with melee weapons. Like there's nothing that's really stands out to me.
I
as,
would
like,
go as far as say it feels like less distinct than like the Skaven did even.
yeah, like
In Vermintide.
Skaven and like Chaos felt like very
On
very
point,
distinct.
very
like,
distinct and on point for their theme.
And
I feel like
Beastmen were
Scab.
like even more distinct. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
were like, okay, I'm fighting a different enemy and I have to approach him a different way. But the Scabs and Dregs are literally like functionally identical except for a couple like armor breakpoints. and then the bosses are just generic. Like the bosses can be inserted like one
I
after
feel
the
like
other. It
I'm
doesn't really
glad they
matter.
tried to do something new with Scav. Like, it's more interesting than just like copy pasting everything. But I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
having some things copy pasted, which is why I want the Death Guard and Darktide to some degree. Because like after all, I love Space Marines, I love Astartes, I love 40k. Sanguinius is my favorite Primarch. Mortarion is my favorite Heretic Astartes Primarch. And in general, Death Guard are one of the most entertaining Heretic Astartes for me in general. So I hope to
I
actually
just
see them in the game someday. What were we saying?
hmm I was gonna say I just love to have something that like the rejects are actually scared of. I think that's something that like is unexplored in the game is like the level of this conflict or like compared to the power level or the lore wise power level of our characters should be terrifying for them. They shouldn't be like boldly going in here and just like,
Yeah, they talk a lot of
just
shit,
knocking
but
everything
like,
down. They certainly are so fucking cocky that they're gonna survive these missions. I'm surprised that the Inquisition even sends an exfil jet for them like ahead of time. It just doesn't seem likely they would survive. And I think that like having enemies like that or having stuff that exists in the space that like, oh shit, like yeah, that's actually a threat to us is something that is kind of lost at this point because for I don't think it's intended, but like the power creep of characters has let it so that we're just bodying like entire armies. Like the Wolfer and his lieutenants had to be getting super fucking frustrated
yeah,
at
it's
this
pretty
foul
intense
efficient.
how far you
It's,
go. The power scaling is definitely
yeah,
kind of like gone way
it's
beyond
got a little
the
lopsided.
the initial vision I think they had, and that's kind of what we're getting like these more elite classes like Arbites and stuff like that on top of like the
Yeah,
Road Trader tie-in. But as far as like a Death Guard is concerned, I think we will probably see one eventually in a set piece. Like, actually, I'll put it as like a
maybe set
maybe,
piece,
but
absolutely.
I definitely think it'd be a pretty big missed opportunity to not have that. And Darktide is like the second biggest horde shooter for 40k, so they probably should have the most famous aspect of it in to some degree, I feel. So maybe one day we'll
I
see.
Yeah, I think so too. It's something that I've heard like whispers about for a long time, but it's so hard to know like whether people are talking shits or like whether like leaks are confirmed or like even if stuff
I'm
is
sure they've
ever going to come
tried.
to
I'm sure they've
fruition.
tried to get one in. They just haven't
Yeah,
like found a way to do it
there's
quite
a
yet.
lot of stuff that was like data mined from a very long time ago that was never made it into the game fully realized, and maybe it's they're saving it for later, or maybe it'll never make it. But this is definitely one that I think we can agree it would be pretty fucking sick.
It would be pretty awesome. Guys, let us know in the comments below how you would feel about a Death Guard in Darktide. And also, subscribe to Mystery's channel if you like content like his. And subscribe to mine if you like content like mine. And as always, take it easy. Bye.
Bye, guys.